Can you guys tell me a little bit about your first impression of the script?
My first impression of the script was that it didn't fit into any kind of mold. It wasn't a thriller, it wasn't a drama, it wasn't anything in that sense. And I loved the character just discovery of what was going on. You know, you have these people in this situation, but it doesn't play out like a typical thriller in that sense where you have a group of people in a house. You know, it doesn't play out that way. And for me, that's what caught my attention most. And then adding the grief element of really exploring what happens when you process grief or when you don't process it. You know, so all of that together with the thriller element for me, that's what got me. That's what got me.
That was exactly the same. It was a psychological thriller that you kept expecting to turn over into the genre and feed the formulaic, return, and it just didn't. It didn't give those returns. It gave something much deeper.
Much deeper.
And then nothing really happens until like page 80.
Yeah.
You know, but then you're like, how did I read so quickly to page 80?
Right.
You know, and I knew instantly I needed to know who this director was.
And what was the conversation like when you first met her? Did you guys kind of break down, exactly what happened before they hit this point? Because we obviously know exactly what happened to his son, but we don't actually see the whole thing play out and know what their relationship was like to such an extent before this night.
I mean, I don't think we got into necessarily those details at the first meeting, but it was certainly about, how deep I wanted to go, and therefore was very afraid of, but I needed to know if she was going to be able to call me out on my shit and make sure I'm going to those places, because I knew what it needed, but that's not necessarily what I wanted to do. Right. But I immediately was like, yeah, she wants to make this real and deep, and admit it is a psychological thriller. It's not a horror or a drama.
Yeah, not at all.
Is it weird at all that it's screening as a midnight movie? Because I feel like in general, most people kind of expect to go into the midnight movie here and kind of get what they came for right off the bat. But here it's almost like they have to work for it and be engaged until they hit that point.
I think it's great that it's screening at midnight. The whole Friday the 13th and all that yesterday. It just really was a lot of fun, because again, you go in with these expectations, and so I think that's maybe what a lot of people did. And again, they were, I hope, pleasantly surprised that it was something a little bit different. To be able, again, to take that kind of genre and add something else to it, it's just a fun discovery. And I think you really only have those kind of genuine discoveries at film festivals, and so it just speaks to that again. It was just such a great treat to have it be here.
I agree.
That's very fair.
I totally agree. I just think it's a good movie. I fit it in any time slot, and it's still going to be scary, and you can fit it in any time slot, and it's still going to be real.
Yeah.
But certainly, when it comes to it all takes place at night. So midnight is on the Friday the 13th.
Right.
Good
Very
fit.
appropriate.
Very good fit.
You ever figure out how your characters met?
We did, yeah. We did all of that. We did a lot of backstory, you know what I mean, in terms of building with Karyn, and then just, having us all work together as a group, all of the friends individually, but knowing where we came from and what was going on. That helped the realism, I think, of the relationship.
Yeah, and I think it would have been easy to spoon feed it. And I think it's one of the things that's so smart. I was just saying, and I just think it's time we start to address the intelligence of the American audience and the international audience, which is, we may not be smart when it comes to guns, we may not be smart when it comes to politics, but we're really fucking smart when it comes to narrative. And it's time to start treating our audience as intelligent individuals, and we don't need exposition that we used to. And we don't need to spoon feed narrative. When for me, it's always like, I go back to it. Don't just say something, stand there.
You don't need to spoon feed it, but I always think it's a nice feeling, and it's a testament to how good the movie is when you leave after and you're like, oh, I wonder how those characters met. I wonder what their life was like prior to this event.
And I think if you were to watch it very closely with that in mind, or watch it again, you would understand, you would start to put it together that, Miguel is a doctor and she is a doctor, and you start to see their conversation within that last act, and you rewind it, you start to see that I knew Tommy and Miguel. You will put all of that together, and we could have easily given that to you.
It's like an essential quality of a horror movie too, to have like that rewatchable feeling to it.
Yeah.
Especially this one with where it ends up. I'd be very curious to go back and kind of see more of the hints.
Right.
Yeah,
That's what makes it fun.
I was looking for the hints, and there actually is an Easter egg in the movie. I'm not going to tell you. Some of the cast didn't know it, but I told them. But there is an Easter egg in the movie that I put there.
What?
It's in a scene. It's in the boys' room. There's an Easter egg. So you're the only person I've told today, by the way.
Okay.
So all the more reason to go back and look.
Now I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about that.
Truly, there's an Easter egg. Have I talked about that?
No.
I'll tell you about it. You'll have to go back and look at it.
Okay, I definitely will. Can you tell me a little bit about the house set? Is that just a full house where you shot it all in a practical location, or was any of this done on a stage?
It's a full house.
That's it. It's a character in the movie.
It really is.
It's a good one. And I love those stairs because they were smack dab in the middle, and so you can triangulate your understanding of the house and where people are, so you can pop to a corner. You actually, just through certain architectural narrative, if you will, you instantly know where you are in the house.
Right.
I just thought the house was such a character in the movie, and so claustrophobic.
It really was.
Dark, and
it was perfect.
Lent itself.
Actually, speaking of it being claustrophobic, so it's a huge ensemble cast, and then I imagine you have a pretty big crew too, and lighting and sound. So does everything squeeze into that little location, or does it feel confining?
Barely.
Yep.
Yeah, I had more cast at times than there were crew.
Yeah.
Because we didn't leave the set too often. They'd call, turn around, and you got 30, and we'd just sit there and keep talking. I mean, that was the cool thing, is I was just realizing is it's a movie about a dinner party of friends who were seeing each other again after a long time, and we all instantly became friends.
We really did.
So it was just lent itself again to just, it can be something hard you got to conjure.
Yeah.
No, you don't like that person. We liked each other. We cared about each other, and we really took profound import in respecting everybody's needs. Almost too much without lines.
I know, but it was great. You don't have that often. So when you
shows.
have that with a group of people, it really is something that stays with you, and from the coffee station to endless games of concentration,
That's right.
we really,
it was great. I forgot about that. I can't believe I haven't brought that up yet. Oh my gosh.
You're a big concentration fan?
It's a game. It's this game we started, and it became
That is a game. I think I used to play it in sleepaway camp. Yeah.
Categories.
Yeah. I love that game.
Yeah, we killed that game.
He's like a champion at it. It was unreal. I think you won every time. Did Phil beat you finally?
Manfredi.
Manfredi
and Phil both. Manfredi took me down. Phil took Manfredi down, and then I took it back. It's a tough game. We had 30 people sometimes in the circle. Cast, crew, the whole thing, production.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. It wasn't
great.
Just cast.
It makes me feel so much better knowing that you had fun and played games, because your character is just so unhappy from start to finish.
All I could do. I was going home to a newborn. I couldn't bring that energy home, and I can't tell you I'm going through it, and it's very cathartic and it's very therapeutic in some way. It's grief I'm not familiar with, and so these guys constantly pulled me out of it. It's so easy. I just wanted to be with everybody and hang. It was cool.
Is there anything you had to do to kind of jump back into it? Like go sit in a room by yourself or something?
I would take my space, but I think there's not a lot of space to take. You can't go anywhere. But that's what I mean when I was saying about the respect is, we played hard, but we worked hard.
Yep.
And when it came down to now we're back, of course there's the conversational looseness that really, I think, sells. We understood when, not just me, but many of us who were going through, we kept that ship tight. And everyone was there. No one went home.
Yep.
You could be finished with your coverage and have, half a day left, and you were there. You were, just to find if you needed me, and not even that you would necessarily A, B, or C look at, D, but just in case.
Yeah.
Did you guys get to shoot in order?
Yes.
I figure one location.
Yeah, most of it was in order.
That'd probably be key here,
It
considering
really
the
was
way
helpful.
the story goes.
It really was helpful. Yeah.
Was there any divide between the friends and then the cult members? Like, you guys seem very playful and like you had a good time, but can you kind of mess around with them and then not have that bleed into the film at all?
I don't think there was, no. No.
No,
No.
there wasn't. There was no, it was, once we cut, it was one big
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
That makes
It
me
was.
feel better.
Yeah, there wasn't that at all.
Was there any cult research? Like, does this idea come from anything that could have happened? I think I just have The Sacrament on my mind, which is based on a kind of true story.
I don't know. I mean, you have to get the writers for that one. I don't
Yeah.
think so. I think it was just,
Yeah, I don't think it was approached as a cult movie. I mean, there's certainly, I think, with Toby and Michiel
Yeah.
and
Hill.
Michiel. And I know John did his fair share there. I'm sure they needed to look into what
Yeah.
that means, but for the rest of us,
We're like, get away
it
with the
didn't,
cult
I don't
stuff.
think that helped. And also, I don't think it was Karyn did not set out to make a genre or a cult movie. She
Yeah.
set out to make a conversation piece and about grief.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think what most of us were kind of juggling.
Yeah, for
How
sure.
we all dealt with it and where we put it,
Mhm.
and how it affected those who we loved.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
How about the balance between realizing what's going on and kind of being a little naive to it? Because most movies, I feel like, where it has this kind of arc to it is, people are happy and nice and friendly, and then later on in the movie, someone realizes something isn't quite right here. But like, you get it from the start, and then other people are kind of trying to convince you that everything is normal. So how do you kind of keep that balance where the audience is still guessing, but like some characters don't come off as, this is a bad word, but just like stupid?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that was set out from the beginning, is to make sure we were constantly bouncing between antagonist and protagonist, and those roles reversing throughout it. That Will played the hero, he played the wet blanket sometimes, but also played the antagonist and a man capable of terror, of terrorizing this. He was terrorizing this dinner party at times, and there's elements, you've seen it, and I don't want to give anything away. I don't know if I should say, but there were elements where actually at one point the audience was again given, spoon-fed the truth before the other characters, even Will. And it was shot and it was written. It was an integral piece of the script for Phil and Matt. And then Karyn in post realized, we can't show that. We can't give the audience. We're putting them ahead of the piece. And there's still an act to be had. And taking that out was a huge revelation.
I'm curious about what that is, because it is a really interesting balance from start to finish, where you give more than I think most movies would, but in a way that kind of services the rest of the experience.
That's right. I mean, I can tell you, I don't know exactly if we're supposed to say on your feed or.
I know.
But it was certainly there. I mean, I think I said it's just the truth was revealed to the audience cinematically, but not to the characters.
Yes.
And I think actually, in a way, it revolves around Claire's character and what happened.